What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Killer B, the doggone witch finder general. You got a witch, I'll burn them up. This is a article that was sent to me from a viewer, Shamiyam. Um, he heard the video that I did the other day talking about Unseen Soldier and how a lot of these women will want to be with people, and especially in this whole cult atmosphere where these women are looking for all the wrong things, and the things that they should be looking for they're ignoring, very important things. There's women that are getting pregnant by these cult members and not knowing their names, their where they're from, or who their mama or their daddy is, even sometimes in some cases. And I want to talk. He sent me about this because I was talking about Unseen, and Unseen is a truck driver, right? And the pattern from the two women, one that I have had a chance to speak with, right, and there's another one that I've heard of through channels like Clyde Diva. Um, that the woman that Clyde Diva was speaking about is, I guess, supposedly pregnant by this man. And it's, I see from what I see in my own observation, right? Now, I don't know, I only know what they show and what they say, right? And I give my own assessment of it, and what I'm seeing is the same pattern. And it's almost kind of gonna line up, well, not exactly line up, but it shows a lifestyle of a person, and their behavior patterns and stuff are the same. So um, when these women, I'm not saying this man is out here killing women, but we don't know what he doing, right? But what we do know is what he speak on, and the things don't add up, and it's pretty creepy how these women fall victim to people like this. And we have a woman, like I said, supposedly pregnant or whatever, trying to get answers or whatever, and the man doesn't want to deal with them. But according to the cult, you're supposed to be dealing with them. But the pattern that I see is that um, the man maybe gets what he's looking for, and then makes, and when the woman gets attached, he makes an excuse, right, not to be with these women, which are against the cult doctrine and everything, right? So it shows that they're really not true to this thing, that is all a game. People use this just to get women. Now, and my history and stuff within the cult, I've had plenty of cousins, friends, and stuff that would sit around me all day long and let me just spew out my mouth all this cult doctrine and rhetoric and all this stuff. And they want to use my books that I have and all these things. And what they do with it, they would bring these things to their house, bring this conversation um, that they've basically memorized from what I was saying, and use that to get women. So the woman might think that they're intelligent or whatever, that, you know, and I've seen it. Like they'll have the book and put the book like next to the bed or whatever. So the woman goes in there and it's like, oh, he's smart. He reads and stuff like that. She pick up the book, and he might have it to a certain section in the book, and he could tell her what's it. Not he didn't read the shit. He just heard what I said. And the things that I said out of my mouth, he'll just regurgitate to them. And that's what most cult members do anyway. They don't really know anything. They just regurgitate what they heard, right? Because I y'all heard me millions of times get on a lot of cult members and that say these little catchphrases and all this stuff, and I'm like, I know the person that made that catchphrase. Like, you didn't come up with that out of your own head. What you're saying now is not your own thoughts. It's that cult leader's thoughts that you're just parroting. You're being a parrot, right? So I just want to read some of this article here so y'all can get an idea and stuff, like the things that could be out here waiting for you. Maybe y'all might have relatives or something like that might be, they call them lot lizards, sex workers and stuff at truck stops and stuff like that. It's a crazy environment. Like my father, he was a truck driver, right? Um, like he wasn't like really long distance. Like, you know what I mean? He'll be gone the whole day, but come back like 24 hours or whatever and stuff like that. He'll go a couple states, Massachusetts or whatever, and make his way back to Connecticut. But some of these people, they go long distance. They might go across the country for weeks, days, and stuff like that, right? So let me read some of this. Truck driving serial killers and the deadly freeways they hunt. It's really, it really is the recipe for the perfect crime. Thousands of miles of open road, truckers are never in one place for long, and victims' law enforcement views are disposable. It's why such big rig murderers have been able to hide and drive in plain sight for decades. At the Flying J truck stop on I 40, in West Memphis, Arkansas, an ugly rumor was spreading among the long haul truck drivers. Between grabbing meals and fueling up their big rigs, they spoke about a serial killer said to be among them. It was 2003, and the bodies of missing murdered women were being found beneath bridges and overpasses, inside cheap motels and long highway off ramps. For decades, no one had noticed the pattern of murdered women being dumped along the highway. That is, until Terry Turner, a criminal analyst of the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations, began spotting women. Author and journalist Ginger Strand took bird's eye view of America's highways and freeways, providing the missing context of how the country's roads had become the workplace of serial killing truck drivers, and why law enforcement, especially the FBI, had missed it for decades, right? Now, I want to say this too. I know a woman that was abducted. I wish I could get a hold of her. Now I wish I had a contact to get a hold of her to have her on the show. But she was abducted by a serial killer that was going up and down the Northeast, abducting women. And one of his techniques was, right, she was a mulatto woman, very, very pretty, right? And she was at a rest area. She wasn't a sex worker and stuff. She was at the rest area. And she was at the payphone, using the payphone. This is back, like, you know what I mean, when payphones are still around and stuff. And a man pulls up in a fancy car with a suit on, suit and tie, looks clean cut, look like he could work on Wall Street, right? And he walks towards the phone booth, like he's parked next to the phone booth. He gets out and stuff, like he's gonna use the phone booth. This is kind of like what do you call it, cell phone days, or like, you know what I mean, like that. Many people had cell phones like they have now. So he drops a whole bunch of change on the ground. This is his technique. He dropped a whole bunch of change on the ground, and the woman felt safe to help him pick up the change. As she bends down to help pick up the change, he grabs her and throws her in his vehicle. Puts a knife to her, right? And forces her in the car. They drive off. While when he's in the car, he stabs her in the arm and sat there with the knife in her arm the whole time while they're driving, and he's just twisting the knife, right? Telling her to stop or like calm down or whatever, right? And she tells him that, oh, I got money. I got plenty of money or whatever, right? So they're about to get off a highway. I believe this is in Westport, Connecticut, which is a very rich area and stuff. The woman managed, and as he's telling her all this creepy, crazy stuff, he said, "I'm gonna cut your like private parts into pieces," and telling her, and he puts the knife in her private parts and starts cutting, twisting his knife and stuff. Very sick person, and she manages to get enough strength to take the knife out of her arm and stab him with the knife. Was able to get the door open, and she jumps out the car on the highway, right by the exit ramp. The man puts the car in reverse and tries to run her over. And eventually, the guy takes off or whatever, right? And it comes to find out every year, I believe it is, she has to basically relive this experience because they have to take a report. I guess re-ask her the questions and stuff. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the man, I don't know if he was caught or not, but the profile fit the same guy that has been going up and down Interstate I-95 abducting women from, I think, like Maryland to like Maine. This guy has been doing this. And every year she has to basically, every 2 years or something, I forgot what it was, that she has to report, I guess, to the FBI or something like that, and basically relive this thing. So this is something that women should really think about before. Be aware of their surroundings. Be aware who you're talking about. There's a lot of women have no problem giving men their phone numbers and stuff like that. And there's a lot of things you get from a person's phone number. Right? You never know. But we see this in this whole cult world all the time, that a lot of these women aren't playing with a full deck. There was a video I was going to make on a certain person that I spoke to and try to open up their eyes to get out the cult. Supposedly they was out the cult, runs right back to the people. It happens again, run out the cult, and now I see them back over there hanging with the cult people. I don't know what else to say. There's nothing for me else to say or to do. But you go do you. You'll learn. You learn the hard way. And I hope the person's watching. You're going to learn the hard way one day. And it might cost you your life. Shout out to my friend Tia that have been through the same thing. And not knowing what the person was involved with, invited this man in her home, fell in love with the man, right? 3 months, and this man turns and tries to kill her in her own home with her children present in the home, right? JJ 7000. He will have his day in court, and it's not looking good, right? So I said the other night, I was talking to her, right, that I wonder if he would have killed you in that house, what would his next step be? Could it have been to kill her children? They're witnesses in the house. After her, he could have done the same thing to her children, right? Then could have rolled right off in the sunset. You know why? And no one had ever known. Do you know why? Because they didn't have his real name. They knew Jeremiah. And the man's name was Anton Montez Hayes. So like I said, be very mindful of who you deal with, who you give your phone number, who you invite to your home. Hebrew Israelites. Look at the woman. I know I'm gonna get to the story here, but the woman Leah Israel, that's globe trekking around the goddamn world now and shit, right? In the name of Yahweh or whatever. She leaves a man in charge of her home that last year tried to shoot and kill a man and a woman. Last, he shot. I think it was a woman. I think he might have choked the woman too, if I'm not mistaken. I did the story on y'all can go back and find it and stuff. But I forgot what he did. He shot at the person, shot him in the leg, shot the person in the leg, and did something right. The forensic, the town was big on gun forensics and stuff. They took the bullet and traced it to another shooting that was a year prior where he shot at a man and a woman in a car with the same firearm. And this is a man she had in her home around her child. And these women, they would invite these men just because they say they men in the Lord, and just because they know a bunch of Bible scriptures. They would invite these people in their homes. I don't know how stupid can you be. But, some women and stuff, they like, I don't know, they got things they want to, just like there's some men out here, they can't be alone. Being alone is a major problem. Being alone, I guess they feel like they gay, or they feel like, you know what I mean? They don't got it no more. They feel like they not a man. Unless they got all these women. There's plenty of men out there. And a lot of these men, you come to find out that they go in both ways. A lot of times, a lot of cases. I used to say, what all these dudes getting all this vagina and stuff, what they gonna do when they go to prison? What there's all this crazy sex drive you got, what you gonna do when you go to prison? Mess with somebody, get some disease, come out and give it to some of these women. I gotta do a video on this because I know I looked up something and I saw the statistic myself. I don't know what it is now, but they said 1 out of every 5 black women have HIV or AIDS. 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5. So you line up 5 black women, 1 of them have HIV or AIDS. I got to do a show on that. I'm going to look that back up. Y'all can do your own research on it, and y'all fact check me or whatever, right? I know that the highest HIV and AIDS rate is with African Americans in this country. And a lot of it is caused by this super masculine mask that these men put on. A lot of it is with these women that can't be alone, right? Or have some kind of self-esteem problem that can't do without having a man. They don't feel like a woman if they don't got a man, and all types of crazy stuff. But let me get back to this here. Turner began her investigation in 2003. The murders were seen as one-offs. For instance, there was Vanilla, a 47-year-old sex worker known for her honeyed voice from her advertisements that went out over the CB radio. Born Margaret Holmes Garner, she was a West Memphis local. In July 2003, a USPS letter carrier happened upon Vanilla's body in Cherville, Arkansas, left under an interstate freeway on-ramp. She was discovered 15 miles from the West Memphis flying JA a month later. I guess that's a truck stop or something. The body of 24-year-old sex worker Jennifer Hyman of Oklahoma City turned up in Tallahatchie River, just past Oxford, Mississippi. Not long after that, another woman with ties to Oklahoma City was found dead. The remains of a 43-year-old Sandra Beard, also a sex worker who frequented truck stops, were uncovered alongside I-40 in the eastern end of Oklahoma. Each of the women's bodies showed evidence that their limbs had been bound before they were killed. Part of the pattern spotted by Turner, who soon contacted another law enforcement agencies from neighboring states and asked for assistance tracking a suspect she believed to be highly active serial killer. Over the next 4 months, 4 more women, Vicki Anderson, Sandra Richardson, Patsy Leonard, Casey Joe Pipeston, were dead. The growing number of victims, who were often white or indigenous sex workers, alarmed Turner. These women were somebody's mom, someone's sister, someone's daughter. Regardless of their situation, they have found themselves in. No one deserved to be treated the way they were treated, she told local media. From all the evidence, Turner reasoned that the suspect must be a long-haul truck driver. She believed he also wasn't the only truck driving serial killer operating on America's interstate highways. From the database Turner developed, helped along by the FBI's Federal Research and Unsolved Murders, the number of women discovered alongside Interstate 40 would eventually be connected to more than 500 killings nationwide. Turner and her network of local law enforcement agencies eventually identified a suspect, a trucker named John Robert Williams. After his arrest for the murder of the separate cases, Williams confessed to killing a total of 12 women, including those Turner was investigating. In 2005, Williams pleaded guilty to the murder of a woman named Mikhail, and he was since claimed to have killed over 30 women. Turner's work inspired the FBI to create a highway serial killing initiative, which is now a nationwide program that connects local and state agencies with federal crime reporting. In its first year, the initiative helped catch 10 truck drivers believed to be responsible for killing close to 30 women. They need to do something like this for the Colts if they don't already have it. A few years later, Strand published a book, Killer on the Road, Violence in American Interstate, that would place Turner's work in the proper context, demonstrating how truck drivers became some of the country's most prolific serial killers and how highways and freeways hollowed out a space for murderers to roam. Originally, she began to research for a book on the freeway system, but the theme of highway killers emerged instead. As I looked into how the system was conceived and constructed and how it transformed American cities and the American landscape, the figure of the highway serial killer seemed to be an ever-present shadow for the very early days to the present. She writes over email, and I began to see that not only did the rise of highway killers track the construction of the highways, but the killers worked in an odd way as the metaphor for the whole thing. Specifically, she sees serial killer truck drivers as an analogy for highways because they can be seen in standing for the way the highways committed acts of violence. They can be seen as standing for the way the highways committed acts of violence in our cities and countryside, and the way the highways promoted a world that was transactional and that reinforced inequality. Both Strand and FBI agree that being a long-haul trucker is an ideal occupation for serial killers, but Strand believed that FBI sees this in a very practical sense. Truckers are alone and on the road in a truck that doubles as a bedroom, which already invites prostitution, Strand tells me. Then they find themselves in truck stops where there's a lively prostitution trade. And then they are to move again, which gives them the opportunity to dispose of the body. That's everlasting. That's everything that makes it possible. But Strand argues that what makes their getting caught less probable is a law enforcement culture. A biased law enforcement doesn't really think hard about the leap are making from soliciting prostitution to murder. The FBI's assumption seems to be once you add prostitution, some women are going to get killed. Strand is also interested in determining whether there's something about the trucking industry itself that could be partially to blame. I tried to ask, why is that the case? What else about the trucker's life might be helping them along the path from a functioning member of society to a killer? And the more I looked into trucking as a lifestyle, the more it seemed like truckers were also victims of this brutal industry, she says. Scranz cites a recent op in the New York Times that examines the things that make trucking a miserable gig. A commodity-filled lifestyle in a nation that purposely dismantled which of its rail transit system is completely dependent on trucking. But no one wants to think about how those truckers live and how we might try to remake their world to make them healthier and happier, she says, elaborating on what the reality is like for many truck drivers. You're on the road for long, lonely hours, being paid a horribly low wage by the mile usually, subjected to difficult deadlines and corporate surveillance. And then the conditions in which you live are awful. There's no good sleep, no good food, and you're sitting in a cab all day, sleeping in it all night. You yourself are always a target for violence and robbery. It's not at all surprising that truckers turn to prostitutes to ease a little of that misery, she continues, but also have to think for the trucker whose mental health isn't great to begin with, hear that? For the trucker whose mental health isn't great to begin with, what effect is this lifestyle going to have on them? Still, the FBI profiler would say that a serial murderer's mental state as a cold-blooded killer is set long before they have a driver's license, or in this case, CDL, where Scranz fully gets. Did the highways actually cause serial killers to start? Well, serial killing, no, she tells me, but the highways gave them opportunities to live out and expand on their impulses. And they help make our society meaner, more unequal, and more marginalizing to those at the bottom. Despite the creation of the FBI's Highway Serial Killing Initiative, Scran believes that there's much more to be done to protect the sex workers, who are often the victims of truck driving serial killers. Those commodities are disproportionately represented among murder victims because they're frequently working unofficially, transitioned, and disconnected from family connections. Not to mention, where prostitution criminalized sex workers live in a world that reluctant to talk to law enforcement, she says. So sometimes these women aren't even reported missing. All of this makes them highly vulnerable. One of the first and easiest things we could do is to ease up on prostitution, frankly. Make it the case where the women working the truck stops are invisible and untraceable. Until that happens, men like Delmas Colvin, aka the Interstate Strangler, a former law haul trucker who has claimed to have killed somewhere between 47 and 52 women, will continue to roam the open road near impunity, or as he put it bluntly on Where the Bodies Are Buried podcast, which is focused on incarcerated serial killers. Colvin is currently serving time for the 7 murders the authorities could pin on him. I was driving a truck, picked up a woman in New Jersey. She wanted me to take a detour. I told her I couldn't. She gave me some lip, and I just strangled her. Colvin said of his first murder, a woman he killed when he was just 23. When the host asked if he was remorseful, he quickly responded, "Hell no, remorse is for suckers." Hear that? All right. So if y'all want to go see some weird shit, you can go over to Unseen Soldiers channel, and you will see a conversation with Lacquer Black. I believe it was Lacquer Black's birthday or his birthday, I think, or Valentine's Day or some shit. It's Valentine's Day. He's supposed to be celebrating that shit anyway. But he was telling her to come out to where he's at. Now, she was asking him, "Are you going to be there? Can you send me a picture that you're there?" And he refused to do it. He said, "You coming or what? I ain't going to send you nothing." Right? It was very strange. And to my to my whatever the word is for it, is she didn't go. But she could have went somewhere and something could have been waiting for her there. And it is very strange. You know what I mean? That a man that's supposed to be your boyfriend or husband, because you're Israelite, right? Not to tell you that you're there. Not to, it had to be some kind of weird stuff going on for the man not to want to tell her or confirm where he is. Right? I'm not saying the man is a serial killer and no shit like that, but I'm saying, but I know the mentality of a lot of these Hebrew Israelites, and from what I have assessed from her testimony and his testimony and videos, something's not right with this person. Now I know things ain't right with Lack or Black, like I know that, right? But it's still, she still shouldn't be treated that way that she was being treated, right? So with that, y'all, I hope y'all learned something from this, and is able to take this information and use it when you make your decisions and stuff about people that you're dealing with, people that you meet. That's all I'm basically trying to do here. It is giving some people some information. So if you guys want to donate to my channel, is Colt Buster. It's Cash App, Colt Buster, $ Colt Buster. CULTBUSTR. Any donation, any amount, be thankful. And also, I will put you on the supporters list for every donation. And I will shout you out every video that I do from here on out. So let me begin with the supporters list. Oh, I forgot GT on the live stream. RTGT. RDGT. I forgot. So I apologize for that. So we got RDGT. We got Scary YT Streets. We got Nagy Springfield. We got Alana Rubinite. We got Josh. We got Siberius the Sleeping Serpent. We got Sister P, Brainstorm Whole School Academy. We got Yasu, Victor Always. We got Sahara Jr., San Miguel TV, and Bill Hill and Myron Edwards. So with that, I thank all my supporters out there, and I hope y'all have a great day. I got a couple more videos that are coming today, so I hope you guys tune in and able to watch it, right? So with that, thank you and see y'all later. Peace.